So we're going to start with a sterilization skills check, and first of the morning you would go ahead and open all with bare hands, because the doors are kept clean at our facility. We don't handle them with contaminated gloves of any sort. You would open the doors and you would go in and check your water height. Your water height on each of these sterilizing units need to be within the green zone, and the closer to the top of the green zone first of the morning would be fine. You can see this one currently is halfway through the green zone, so it would be safe to start an autoclave with that level of water in it. The clinician who is being the CA at this point in the day would get on their heavy utility gloves and come and retrieve pre-packaged instruments. And in order to monitor very thoroughly how our process goes, we use the Cross-Tex indicator strips, and we make sure that there is one in each load. We will fill it out, right? We indicate steam on the front of the, we mark the steam box in the front, and then on the actual pouch, and it's posted for you up in the back. It is posted that you put the date, you put the sterilizer number, S number, and we happen to know what this one's going to be, and it's sterilizer number 2. You put the load number right in, put all of that on both your cassette that you have wrapped, because we're doing pouches, and on your indicator tape and your indicator pouch. And with heavy utility gloves again, because this is all contaminated, and because you're only going to be able to view the back side of the pouch itself, you make sure that you've closed it and sealed it, and that on the portion that your date is written and all, that you have a short piece of indicator tape on it. That way you can just at a glance know if the actual set of instruments has been processed yet or not. Then with your heavy utility gloves, and the door, remember, is already propped open, you would go and place your tray of instruments, not overly loaded. In this instance, we're using just one tray, so we need to place it in the middle of the chamber of the sterilizer, because that's where our monitoring strip is supposed to go. You would go ahead and take off your utility gloves. You would go and use hand sanitizer. Anytime you remove contaminated gloves, anytime you remove gloves in general, you want to consider hand washing or hand sanitizing. Now that the autoclave is loaded, you would be sure to carefully close the door, and there's a lift with the actual door clasp, and then you place it all the way down till it's locked. I'm going to walk over closer. On the actual face of the sterilizer, it says select cycle. So you would select your cycle, and Tricia is pointing out that we're using pouches. So touch the pouch button and touch the start button, and the machine would start on its own and go through the entire process. Okay, so now let's say your autoclave has stopped. It is not like the Miele washer. It doesn't have a plastic stem that sticks out when it stops. So you just need to look at it, and it has popped a little. The door has popped a tiny little bit, such as that, like a small crack. So you would take out your, you would first pull out your middle tray to be sure that it has changed. The indicator tape has changed and now has black lines on it. you would take out the indicator tape from the tray, and if your tray is hot, obviously you need to use something to protect you from it. As long as you're bare-handed, and remember, this is a sterilizer, this is cleaner than we are. So you would take it out and go over to the drying rack that we have. This is a middle tray, so it's a larger tray. There are sides where the skinnier trays go to cool. This packaging for sterilizer cannot be touched until it's fully dry. The indicator packaging, you can open it up and review what it says, and you would need to then take it over to your, and why don't we follow Tricia over to it, the notebook, because you need to document, and it was right over by where the Wilkins and the clinic notebooks are kept. You need to document, and come a little closer and a little lower. Thank you. Everything that it says that you have actually written down on your indicator. So you would be putting your initials, the results, that you did pouches, the time you removed it, and the date that you removed it.
So in this case, we utilized sterilizer 2. My initials would go here. Under results, you would either indicate an A for acceptable or U for unacceptable when it comes out. Then your cycle, which would be pouches, and then the date, time, and out. This is where the sterilization monitoring log is actually kept. I want to show you as well what the plain blank forms look like. So we're going to go back to the autoclaves. A plain blank form would have the date for the sterilizer, the day that all these sterilizers are going to be run, and you could during one day be filling out for every single load for every single sterilizer.
So ultimately in the notebook, only one sheet would end up there probably for at least a 4-hour session, and then if a different CA were in the afternoon, it would be a different CA that would fill out the next one. Or did we just continue on with the same one?
Remember that whoever opens up, whether it's a CA or a clinician, opens up the autoclaves and removes the sterilized instruments, that is the person's whose initials get put down here on this sheet. If at the end of the day, for the day that the recording is occurring, this goes back, because many times our autoclaves are going to run right through the night. So the next morning when the CA or a clinician comes in, the top of this form is going to say the date from the previous day, because that's when these instruments have been sterilized. So that CA for the next day may be recording for the previous day. When this is filled out for that previous day, we would take that over and put it in the sterilization monitoring log.
So is there anything else unique to this other than we keep the front of our sterilizers with clean hands only? We handle any contaminated trays with heavy utility gloves for the chance that they're sharps. Anything else unique that we should think about?
The other part we want to remember is for our sterilization and monitoring strip. That gets disposed of at the end. We do not keep those here at this facility, as we're keeping a log for each day. So think of it as if all of the instruments and cassettes that's been run through the sterilizer is for that day. The other part is when we transfer the sterilized instruments and we put them onto the trays for them to dry, you want to make sure that the instruments are completely dried on these trays before we'll be transporting them with, again, clean hands. They will be completely dry, so they will not be wicking at all. and we're going to put them into the correct cassette that's been labeled into the cubbies.
Right, so there's a corresponding number, and the number is on the bottom of the cubby, like the mailboxes are noted. So, for example, you're in number 17. And
There it is. Let me show you for an example.
right, number 17. And then the cubby also says 17. So it says it on the bottom, and you would place them in there. Now, what if one of these bags I'm placing in happens to rip a bag that's already in there, or it gets torn on something as I'm placing it in? What do I need to do?
At that time, you need to repackage, repouch all of the instruments and run them back through the sterilizer again.
Just the ones I tore.
That's the ones that's been torn.
Okay.
Please notice as we're showing this to you, this was a date that was done over the summer. I want to show you that you can see that there's been a sterilization number placed on here. This is a new process to us as well. Notice that we don't have a load number on here. So this is a new process that will be continually being refined. So as our semester goes, we're going to keep getting updated on this sterilization monitoring as well.
Right, but because it's stored in a nice dry place with good packaging, minimally it's good for up to 6 months.
Minimally.
So this is certainly sterile to go ahead and be used. Okay, anything else we can think of? All right, thank you.